Welcome to the roots of emotional and binge eating, discovering what's really going on. My name is Dr. Ashley Southard, and I'm the co-founder and program director of the Healthy Way Out Emotional and Binge Eating Program in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I am so excited that you're here with us today to learn more about what's really going on under the surface of your emotional and binge eating behaviors. Now, if you're like so many of the participants who go through our emotional and binge eating program, I bet you've tried a million diets, eaten one too many meal replacement bars, and implemented more exercise plans than you care to count. But no matter which diet you choose or which exercise plan you try, my guess is you still end up hitting the same frustrating brick wall, eventually falling off the wagon, overeating, and maybe even regaining the weight you had previously lost. And all you're left with is a huge sense of disappointment, like somehow you have failed yet again, and you may even find yourself questioning if you will ever be able to have a normal relationship with food. You know, the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. And I bet you've had this insane experience with countless diets over the years, leaving you to feel like you're in a hamster wheel of trying to eat less, move more, and hoping that this time, maybe this time, you'll stick with it long enough to finally end overeating once and for all. And yet, every time, the diet fails you and you're right back where you started. Or, like so many, maybe even further behind than when you started. Is any of this ringing true for you? If so, then you are in the right place. We can't change the solution if we don't first change our understanding of the problem. So rather than promote another food and exercise plan that will only contribute to the cycle of dieting insanity, I invite you to consider another way of understanding and approaching your relationship with food. Let's consider your overeating behaviors as a weed in your beautiful garden we call life. And I want you to think of the garden of your life as including things like your family, your career, your home, and your friendship network. All of the things that you've worked so hard to achieve and accomplish, things you're so proud of, and the things that really bring color to your life. And if you're like so many of the participants who go through our program, you've probably wondered, how on earth is it that you can be so successful in these important areas of your life and yet not be able to figure out this whole eating thing? We hear that all the time. Okay, so back to your eating behavior. Think about this as a weed in your garden, a really annoying, incessant, and unwanted behavior in the midst of this great life you've created for yourself. And like any good gardener, of course you just wish these pesky weeds would go away. And no matter how many times you declare a weed-free garden, they continue to pop up. Just like no matter how many times you begin a new diet, these annoying overeating behaviors creep back in and take over. So if your relationship with food is like a weed, then let's look at the green, leafy part of the weed that grows above ground. This is the part of the weed that we can see with the naked eye, just like the part of your eating that we can see, the things you do with food. Things like overeating after a long, stressful day at work, or going out to happy hour with friends and saying screw it to the diet you wanted to start, telling yourself, I'll start tomorrow. Or secretly eating a whole bag of M&Ms and then hiding the empty bag in the trash so no one in your household will know that they're gone. These are the parts of your eating that you may be inclined to focus on because they're so obvious. But just like a weed in the ground, we know that there is more than meets the eye. We can't understand a weed in its entirety if we just look at what's above ground, just like we can't understand your eating if we just look at the visible behaviors. So the other very important part of the weed that we can't see is the root, the source of the weed's food and nutrients. And as you know, the roots are what make the weed grow bigger and stronger. So again, as we think about this relative to your eating, it's important that we consider the root of your behaviors. What is the nutrient source, if you will, that makes your overeating grow bigger and stronger? These are going to be the things that you can't necessarily see, but that have a huge impact on your behaviors. Things like how you're feeling, what you're thinking about yourself and others around you, and painful past experiences. For so many emotional and binge eaters, emotions can be an overwhelming experience because they come on so intensely and with so much complexity. For example, after a long day of work, you may be feeling tired and stressed and excited. Rarely do we feel one simple emotion at a time. They tend to show up in packages. And then, to complicate things even more, they're often connected to thoughts like, what's wrong with me that I'm feeling this way? I have such a blessed life. I should be happy. Or, why can't I just get over this and move on? And then finally, you may also have important past experiences associated with these feelings that make this sensation that much harder to manage. So, for example, maybe as a young person, feeling scared was often felt in the context of watching your parents and siblings intensely fight with each other. Or maybe feeling lonely happened in the context of being bullied at school and having to eat lunch alone in the cafeteria. Sometimes these past experiences can influence us today, even though they happened a long time ago, even though we don't think about them anymore, and even if the current situation is completely different. So as you can see, what seem like behaviors that you think you should just be able to simply diet your way out of are actually much more complex and not just about food. They have emotional root sources that must be understood and addressed in order to stop the overeating for good. So what do we do about this root that keeps these overeating behaviors alive? Well, we know that if we cut a weed off at ground level, it just grows back. So obviously, we have to get to the root source and extract it. We have to look at what you're feeling, what you're thinking, and what you've been through that may be connected to your eating behaviors. It's simply not enough to eat less and move more. That is just hacking at the leaves and never getting to the root. So, now that you have a different understanding of the problem, let's look at a different way to resolve it. A way that doesn't require you to white-knuckle your way through the next shiny diet. The first step in extracting the root source of your weed-like eating behaviors is to ask yourself, what am I feeling? Before you can make any behavioral changes, you have to know what emotions are driving your desire to overeat. Being able to identify feelings like loneliness, sadness, embarrassment, anger, happiness, fear, and everything in between is going to be a huge step in changing your relationship with food. It may even help to write down what you're feeling the moment you begin to have the urge to overeat. The next step is to ask yourself, what do I need? With any feeling comes a need. If you're feeling lonely, perhaps you need social connection. If you're feeling angry, maybe you need to vent. If you're feeling scared, you may need reassurance. So see if you can identify what it is that you need to help you respond to whatever feeling or feelings are coming up when you have the urge to overeat. And lastly, ask yourself, how can I nurture myself? If you know what you're feeling and needing, can you then do something that supports this emotional part of you rather than dismissing or judging how you're feeling and turning to food instead? So if you're feeling lonely and maybe need social connection, perhaps what you can do to nurture yourself is invite a friend to go have coffee with you. Or if you're feeling overwhelmed and you need some quiet time, perhaps what you can do to nurture yourself is cancel your evening plans and spend some peaceful time alone. With each feeling and need comes an action that you can do, either alone or with someone, to effectively respond to this emotion that's coming up. As you practice this skill, you may find, like so many people I work with, that it's hard for you to take action to support yourself. I bet you are super good at helping everyone around you, but struggle to extend the same kindness to yourself. If this is the case, then you definitely want to take a look at that and explore why caring for yourself is a challenge. You know, we have a mantra in our emotional and binge eating program, feel it to heal it. And I love this mantra because it's a quick reminder that we can't go around our emotions. We have to go through them. As uncomfortable as they may feel sometimes, we have to address the root source of our eating. We have to get real with ourselves and explore what we're feeling, what we're thinking, and what we've been through that may still be affecting us today. The good news in all of this is that our bodies are wired to heal. So if you can find the courage to feel it, I assure you, your body will know exactly how to heal it. It is entirely possible to have a garden without weeds. And of course, what I mean by that is it's entirely possible to have a life without overeating. But you have to tend to your feelings regularly, just like you have to tend to an actual garden regularly. And what does regular emotional gardening mean? It means taking the time to acknowledge and sit with your feelings, create space for them, get curious about them, and lovingly respond to them. And if this is a totally new way of thinking about your eating and yourself, I encourage you to consider working with a therapist who has the gardening tools to help you get at the emotional roots of your emotional and binge eating behaviors. As with any garden, it's normal to need some initial help getting the garden planted, getting the irrigation set up, and making sure you have the proper soil. But once you've got it established, you're better able to maintain it and keep it free of weeds. You deserve nothing short of a rich, fulfilling life that is free of emotional and binge eating. I hope that you found this information helpful in better understanding the deeper source of your eating behaviors. If you would like more information about emotional and binge eating, please visit our website at www.thehealthywayout.com. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you.